can't take a day off in this business anymore because, you know, take a couple of days off at the weekend and suddenly everything spirals out of control.
I know, every time I think, oh, I'm going to have a relaxed day, I see the news and it's like, oh gosh, it just doesn't stop popping up. I mean, with the Labour Party, I don't think they can go a single day without a new scandal coming out. It's just endless. I mean, we've had just in the short term, we've had Rayner, then Mandelson, and then we find out some other guy has had to quit yesterday and aid over some dodgy messages he sent about Diane Abbott back in 2020. It just never ends with them. And then, as you say, the story about the flight not being able to take off, and they only were trying to send one guy. We were told it was going to be 50 a week going, and they told us at the beginning of August that it was all starting this week
August
and they'll be gone soon, and I knew that the details of it said that France has 14 days to decide if they approve someone or want, and then I thought, I'll give them 2 weeks, I'll give them a chance. 2 weeks went, another 2 weeks went, nothing. Then, first day of Parliament, Yvette Cooper comes in and says, we will send some back by the end of September, and I'm thinking, that's a bit weak. But then the following day, she was like, actually, I'm not sure we'll even do it by the end of September. And
that was the line, wasn't it, from Starmer? If you come to this country illegally, you will be detained and deported. And it was at the earliest opportunity, which could be about 3 months away. But they made a big thing of it over the weekend because this was the week it was going to start. And I'd said to Christian, my producer, yesterday, I said, I'm sure they won't be sending anyone today, will they? And of course, they had one guy, one hapless character, who was going to be led onto a plane. It's not very clear if he actually even made it onto the plane, or whether he was just in the departure lounge and got his duty-free sorted, and then suddenly was told, oh, we can't take you now because there's been a legal challenge.
All over just trying to send one individual. Apparently they're going to try and put him on another plane today. But what's happening is you've got all of these charities and lawyers who are teaming up to send loads of emails and make loads of phone calls to Air France to say, don't take these migrants on your planes, it's evil, it's inhuman, making them go to that horrible country called France. How dare the United Kingdom.
Horses.
So Air France are probably thinking this is more flack than it's worth to take a few individuals on our flights.
Well, it's the same old story, isn't it? It's the same old story that afflicted the Tories when they tried to do it. There's lawyers popping up out of nowhere. They're ringing people in Strasbourg at sort of midnight to make sure that he gets taken out of a restaurant, some judge to give his verdict. I mean, it says here the Home Office says they have to give generous time extensions to the migrants to take legal advice on challenging their deportation as a result of a ruling against the Tory government's thwarted Rwanda deportation scheme. So the legal process actually is going to take a lot longer than everybody thought.
Well, I mean, especially with all the backlogs that we have in the courts.
Well, it's not going to take any longer than I thought.
I'm sure they'll be here for a few more years in a hotel before we even think about sending them back. And I knew this was going to happen when this policy was announced. I was like, I know this is too good to be true, that they're just going to detain a bunch of migrants and a week or two later they're going to be on a plane to France. It's not going to happen. But then we were told...
So the whole idea is ridiculous because it's not deporting anyone. They're deporting one person and bringing another person in. So the numbers are actually still going up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is someone thinking of making a crossing from France is going to think, oh, there's a chance I might be sent back this way and I'll never be able to claim asylum in Britain again, so it's not worth the risk. But when it's only 50 a week, I'm sorry, but I don't think that is as good enough of a deterrent.
It's not because there's, as I say, since they announced this was happening, since they started detaining people, August the 6th, 5,600 have come, and they're talking about getting rid of one guy.
Yeah, I mean, what they say is, oh, we're just starting with 50 a week, but that's just a trial run before we ramp it up and it will be loads of people. But I highly doubt they will ever even get close to even 50 a week, because they can't even send one person.
It says here, the French authorities said they'd been told to expect fewer than 10 people per flight and no more than 2 or 3 on the first passenger jet flown out of the UK. It is understood the French would have preferred larger numbers on a smaller number of flights.
It was an absolute
shambles.
The one policy that they had where it looked like they were going to do not much, but a small little something to create a little deterrent to stop the boats. They can't even get that off the ground, let alone anything meaningful to stop the boats coming across. So, I mean, it's clear as day now that there is absolutely no chance under a Labour government that the boat crossings are going to go down.
There are 2 reasons why. One, because it would appear that they can challenge under their right to a family life under Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. But even worse than that, they can also claim that they've been trafficked or are suffering from mental ill health. So they can all say that, can't they?
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen, but then there was this this disparity between what the French were saying and the Brits were saying, because we had, when people started to ask the question, oh, surely people are going to make these legal claims, we had Elise and Andy come out and say, oh, no, it's OK, we can send them to France first, and then we can deal with their legal claim after. But then the terms of the deal with the French said we won't take anybody until they have no outstanding legal claims. So that didn't add up, and then there was, no one knows exactly where, apparently this guy was still not, this one individual, we're not entirely sure where exactly he's going to be saying, if he's going to be able to leave and come back to the accommodation. It's just been a total mess over this one little policy that isn't really that much of a deterrent. It should be not that difficult to swap 50 people a week, but seems it is. It's
very difficult for Labour to do anything at the moment because they're so busy being mired in scandal. I mean, Dan Hodges, our friend here from our show, where we sort of made him into a Starmer hater when he started off being quite a supporter, he basically says, this proves what ministers have told me all week, Downing Street is falling apart. Prime Minister's authority is completely collapsing. And this is on the subject of this guy, Paul Obendon. But Starmer actually was so panicky yesterday, he decided to go out and actually give an interview to Channel 4 News and also to other kind of selected outlets. Not to us, of course, but we've got it. Have a look at this.
Obviously, the post, the diplomatic post of American ambassador, really important post. And Peter Mandelson, before he was appointed, went through a due diligence process. That's the propriety and ethics team went through a process. And therefore, I knew of his association with Epstein, but had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
If I'd known then what I know now. Well, what he knew then was that he had a friendship with a convicted paedophile.
Yeah.
And so apparently that was OK. That's not a problem. You can be the American ambassador for the UK as long as you regret it and you're sorry that you were friends with a paedophile that went to prison for child sex offences and for trying to procure a child for prostitution purposes. That's fine, OK? He doesn't mind that. So he's now saying that because he wasn't shown a couple of emails that make it look worse than he thought it was, he wouldn't have appointed him. It makes no sense, does it?
No, I mean, Keir Starmer from the start has, and all of the people surrounding him in number 10, it would seem, have just been completely off the mark with recognising what is going to blow up into a scandal and what isn't. I mean, every day they seem to do something stupid. And with Peter Mandelson, what they clearly did is they appointed him knowing that he had strong links with Epstein, knowing that he was friends with him, not just before, but after the man was convicted. I know there are a load of people that were associated with him, but you can possibly give them benefit of the doubt if it was before they knew what this guy was up to, right? But after he's been convicted, absolutely no excuse.
Mandelson stayed in his house in New York when he was in prison.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to stay in a guy's house and he's in prison, you think you might ask what he's in prison for.
Yeah, and did business deals with him after he was convicted. But what Starmer thought when he appointed him was, oh, it's worth the risk of a possible story because we're really nervous about our relationship with Trump and we just want to get a guy that's experienced in. How dumb do you have to be to not recognise that that is going to blow up into a big story?
The other way to look at it, which I think is slightly more likely to be the case, only because of the influence that he has, is the whole Blair project, which is still kind of hanging around like a bad smell, would have been pushing for Mandelson. McSweeney was pushing for Mandelson because he used to work with him when he was in the Blair government. You know, the Blair people, including Tony Blair, would have been pushing for him. And that's, I think, the problem, because Starmer is so weak that he just kind of goes along with whatever anybody tells him. Let's have a look at his next bit, right? This is where he talks about the timeline of what number 10 knew.
It was only on Wednesday early evening that I knew the contents of the Bloomberg emails. It was only very late on Wednesday when Peter Mandelson replied to the questions that had been put to him by government officials. And it was on that basis that I took my decision that he should be removed. What I knew before PMQs was that there had been media inquiries. I didn't know the content of the Bloomberg emails. And I knew that questions had been put to Peter that he had not yet answered. And he hadn't answered them by the time it got to PMQs. There is, of course, a time lag in America, but I knew that there are questions that have been put to him, but I didn't know what answers he was going to give to those questions. That came later on Wednesday. And that's why, at that point, I gave the answer I did at PMQs, and that's the extent of what I knew at the time.
So he's now blaming the time difference between London and Washington. You know, but they're 5 hours behind. So, I mean, I didn't have any answers. He's the Prime Minister. You get the guy out of bed. You go, look, answer this right now, because I'm going to go...
He has to clock off at 6 p.m, Mike. We know that, don't we?
Yes, but this was... He's talking about Wednesday at PMQs. So don't forget, Wednesday he got up at midday and he was asked by Kemi Badenoch, you know, do you have full confidence in the ambassador? And he said he had full confidence in him. It wasn't just, well, actually, we're waiting for him to answer some questions, or actually, we're investigating what he may have known that he hasn't told us about. No, no, no. This was, we have full confidence in Peter Mandelson.
I mean, it was just absolutely...
Hopeless.
Yeah, completely hopeless. So dumb of him to stand there at PMQs and say that he's got full confidence in the guy, when he didn't have to say one way or the other. Right. He could have just sat in the middle and said, we're waiting for him to answer some questions, we're waiting to see some more information. If you're waiting on emails, don't say you've got full confidence in him. Say you're going to wait. And also...
why hasn't he seen the Bloomberg stuff? Again, he's the Prime Minister. You know, you just have to make a phone call and go, I need to see this stuff, please.
I know, exactly. So, I mean, there's no way that he can twist it and change the timelines to make him look good. He looks bad either way. And the thing is, regardless of the timelines with the emails and whatnot, you had, just before PMQs, Peter Mandelson go and do that interview with Harry Cole, where he said there'll be more stuff to come out. So, I mean, what more evidence do you need that it's not a good idea to stand at PMQs, get completely roasted by Kemi Badenoch, and say you've got full confidence in that guy? How did you not think that was going to come back to bite you?
Because Harry Cole was in here with us yesterday, because he's back in London right now this week because of the Trump visit, and he said, you know, it was very funny that night because they were waiting for Mandelson to arrive in the studio. It was one of those where you don't know if he's going to turn up, because he was clearly going round and round outside in a car, waiting to see how bad the papers were in Britain before he decided whether to come in and do the interview. So Mandelson knew he was in trouble. You know, and if you haven't got a conversation that you can have with the ambassador to the United States as the Prime Minister, if you can't personally pick up the phone and go, look, Peter, what's going on? And you're leaving it all to aides and, you know, ethics managers and all the rest of it. That's part of his problem. He's not hands-on. He doesn't know how to do anything. I mean, look, surely, I mean, you know, if I was working with somebody like that, and you've been in situations where you've got a boss, you know, whether it's Piers Morgan, whether it's you know, some high-flying editor type, you know, and you're in trouble in some way, they ring you up and they ask you directly. They don't go through intermediaries. They just go, what's going on? I mean, I've got to do PMQs tomorrow. You better tell me the truth. Yeah,
I mean, everyone was watching PMQs waiting for what he was going to say about Peter Mandelson. Kemi Badenoch was all ready to go for him for it. He should have thought through what he was going to say. I mean, did nobody advise him
he just that it would be a full confidence in the ambassador?
It was an absolute car crash, and it has been so clear over the past year that Keir Starmer, in almost every single aspect, is completely out of his depth. Not just on policy, but on comms and just common sense, reading the room.
Are we still in phase 2, by the way, or is that gone now? I mean, I was wondering yesterday if we're in phase 3 yet.
Do you know, I got sent a picture this morning of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is the picture
This is the one with the taking the knee, isn't it?
Yes, taking the knee. The second one, Angela Rayner, who's gone, and then phase 3, none of them are in the picture anymore.
Exactly, right. This is Starmer on why the material that he says was not presented to him wasn't presented to him.
You say not everybody had seen every email, but people at the top of the Foreign Office were in possession of some of the very material which you say was so unacceptable.
Well, look, in retrospect, it would have been better if I had been shown the details of the material before PMQs. Nonetheless...
The bits that were in Whitehall already.
Well, in retrospect...
Why weren't you?
It would have been better if I had seen that
You must have wondered
material.
this.
Well, the team were busy trying to get answers out of Peter Mandelson, which they hadn't got answers
And you're sure they weren't just working, as it were, for Peter Mandelson, trying to protect his reputation a bit when they should have been protecting yours?
No. I've seen the questions that government officials put to Peter Mandelson. I've seen the response he gave to those.
You think he was obfuscating?
Well, what I'd just say about those questions, they were the right questions, in my view, and they were waiting for Peter to reply. So they didn't know what his reply was going to be any more than I did. But look, if you're asking me now, you know, days on, would it have been better if more of this material had been brought expressly to my attention? Then yes, it would have been.
I mean, it's only wonder they can't get anything done in this government. I mean, you might as well send a guy on horseback, you know.
He just babbles on. I mean, that is what we call a word salad there.
A couple of carrier pigeons over to Washington, D.C. Well, Peter hasn't got the carrier pigeons yet, so we don't know what his answer is. I mean, it's ludicrous. Pick the bloody phone up and ring him.
I know. I mean, there's just no excuse for it whatsoever.
No.
And the other thing they've done with this, handling it absolutely atrociously, is they decided the guy that they would send out on the media rounds to defend the decision to have Peter Mandelson Was Peter Kyle,
yeah.
So you've got Peter.
He didn't know anything.
You've got Peter. Well, he doesn't know anything. But ironically, you've got him defending a guy who had links to a prolific paedophile, whilst he is also the guy who decided to say that Nigel Farage is, cozying up to paedophiles like Jimmy Savile for simply criticising the online safety bill. So he's been on his moral high horse talking about how evil paedophiles are previously, and then he's out defending a guy who's mates with him on Sunday. I mean, couldn't you have picked somebody else to go and do those media rounds?
Yeah, to go back to Keir, well, as Dan Hodges says, clearly, Downing Street is literally falling apart. It's in meltdown. There's nobody running it. Nobody's running anything.
All these interviews.
Nobody knows what to do. I mean, this guy who's had to resign, Overton, is one of the guys who's closest to Morgan McSweeney, one of the key aides in Downing Street, and he's had to go because of his embarrassment about Diane Abbott, which is pretty awful. I mean, it's years ago, it doesn't really matter. But this is the trouble with these characters. These sort of political apparatchiks. They're all a bit odd. And they have, all sorts of WhatsApp jokes with each other all the time, most of which are pretty unpalatable, and I don't really care about that. But you can't be doing that in government. You just can't get away with it, can you?
I mean, if you are in government and you send if you're a politician, you send a WhatsApp, you need to send that knowing there is always a chance it's going to be screenshotted. But these people just don't seem to have the common sense to know that, and they'll put something stupid on WhatsApp that can then, lead to them having to resign. I mean, it seems like, I know these messages were from back in 2020, but it really seems like the people around Starmer, they do the most idiotic things and somehow think that it won't blow up in a big story. Whether they've... and Keir Starmer, he'll come out and say, oh no, we have got loads of integrity because all of these people that have had to resign, we've acted really quickly to make sure they resign.
Because that's his definition of integrity.
I know, and I'm like... But Keir Starmer, have you seen how many of them have had to go? I mean, you had Louise Haigh for the whole phone disaster first. Then you had...
We had Sue Gray before that.
You had... I can't even remember. There are so many scandals, I forget.
Yeah.
And then you had, the Minister for Corruption having to leave because she's being investigated for corruption. Then you've got the Homelessness Minister having to leave because she evicts her own tenants.
Dead. So he said that was the guy Gwynn who thought it was a good idea to tweet out that basically pensioners, if they die, we won't have to spend so much money on them on the NHS. It's all good.
And then, I mean, Angela Rayner, did she not think that buying this new pad, a third home, when you're the housing minister in a department that's cracking down on evil second homeowners, do you not think that might just be a bad look? I mean, where is the common sense with these people?
They haven't got any.
From a comms perspective, a PR perspective, it's been an absolute car crash from day one.
This is how you can tell they've never done anything in the real world, because they don't know how the real world works. Here's Ed Miliband. He was on Peston last night defending Mandelson.
I don't know, you seem to, but I don't know exactly what was gone through in that vetting process. What I do know is that Keir, as he said today, had no idea about the scale and extent of the relationship revealed in these emails, or about the way in which Peter Mandelson was defending Jeffrey Epstein to Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction. That's why... he rightly, as I say, said today he wouldn't have appointed him in the first place.
Yeah, there's this kind of equivocation. No idea, Keir. Did he just call him that? It sounded like it. He said Keir had no idea.
Almost. I mean, it sounded like it was all rhyming and getting confusing. I mean,
I think we should just clip that.
It's sending...
Keir had no idea. Just keep playing it.
I mean, it's sending me to sleep, to be honest. Him and Keir Starmer just going on air, babbling, trying to explain themselves, when there is no way out of this.
There's nothing to explain, right?
There's no way out of
Peter
this.
Mandelson,
They clearly, whatever the timeline is, whatever exactly how it adds up, they look terrible either way.
Exactly. Peter Mandelson was friends, best pals even, with a convicted paedophile. That's all you need to know. Therefore, he should never have been appointed.
No.
Not he should have been appointed because he said he regretted it and that he was sorry he'd ever met him, which is what he started to say, because now it's going to come out. Apparently there's even more stuff coming out in the next 24 hours. Which could finish Starmer off.
It could potentially. I'm not entirely sure. There's been a lot of talk about whether someone like Andy Burnham is going to come in and take his place.
I don't think Andy Burnham's got it either.
But the thing is,
who died and made him boss, as they say. What makes him so great?
If Andy Burnham decides to go for it, this could actually be a huge win for Reform, because if he vacates his mayoralty in Greater Manchester, Reform are on track to win that, so they might take that off his hands. And then, if he gets an MP to resign so that he can come into a by-election, there's also a good chance, because he'll have to go for somewhere in the Manchester area, that Reform could win it as well. And we know history shows that it is really really rare for an incumbent government to win a by-election.
Right.
People tend to rebel in by-elections against the government.
Well,
so you
especially
could,
if the government's this useless.
Exactly. I mean, you could end up with Andy Burnham decides to leave the mayoralty in Manchester to try and go for party leader, and as a consequence, he ends up with no seat or no mayoralty whatsoever, and Reform win a mayoralty and a seat, which would be an absolute disaster. So I think Keir Starmer, as embarrassing as this is, and I'm sure we're going to see far more interviews of him umming and ahhing and making a fool of himself, I'm not sure he's going to go because I don't think there is a clear successor. They've got rid of Angela Rayner now, so she's not going to take over the reins. If she was still here, then it might have been another story. But I mean, there's just no talent in the Labour Party to take over any role. I mean, not just for Keir Starmer.
It doesn't mean that it won't happen, though, because you've got another story in the Mail here today talking about how they're all lining up. Ousted ministers seek revenge. And these are the people trying to become deputy prime minister, right? Or deputy leader, I should say. Justin Madders, who's Angela Rayner's enforcer for the Workers' Rights Bill before being axed by Sir Keir Starmer this month, is chairing Lucy Powell's bid. So they're all lining up, you know, with their knives out to stab him in the back. And I don't think they care whether there's a successor. They just want to get rid of him because he's, one, so useless, and two, he's got so many enemies. He literally can't survive.
I mean, he might go, but I would point back to Theresa May, who from 2017 her reputation was absolutely toast, but because there wasn't a clear successor, she managed to hang on for 2 more years. So I just don't see any clear other talent to come through. I mean, there've been some talk about people like Waste Streeting, but I'm not sure that he's going to really appeal.
Down the plug hole, isn't he?
I mean, what would be absolutely hilarious is if we end up with Ed Miliband as party leader, because apparently amongst the Labour members he's super popular.
Well, then they'll kill them off altogether. That will completely
exactly. I mean, I kind of hope that happens because not only will it be absolutely hilarious, but that will really finish them off and hand Reform a huge majority whenever there is an election.
It's hard to see somebody being more useless than Keir Starmer, to be honest. Jules in London says, good morning, Mike and Chloe. Fair to say, if they knew then what they know now, most, if not all, voters wouldn't have opted for useless Starmer. I think that's right. It's 27 minutes past 6. We've got loads to do. By the way, we've got another good Ed Miliband story. It turns out his second home council tax payments have all been made by us. He doesn't bother paying it. He puts it to the taxpayers to pay it. It's nice, isn't it? Several £1,000s. It's 27 minutes past 6. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:31. I'm Mike Graham. This from Tony. It says Paul Ovenden, Starmer's Director of Strategy, and posted awful explicit photos of racial slurs against Diane Abbott. What the hell is going on in number 10 Downing Street? Well, you do wonder what they're doing sitting around all day. Keir Starmer, meanwhile, is still desperately trying to make out that he's got some very important things going on, including a nuclear deal. This is with the United States of America. He's hoping this might rescue him from the state of his hapless government. Basically, Trump arrives today, and they've done some deal with them to build nuclear power plants, small nuclear power plants up and down the country. I think he tweeted this. Do you think they've got somebody who selects the music for these videos? It's awful, isn't it?
Some dodgy intern who doesn't know really what they are doing.
Right. It's just dreadful music. I mean, maybe they go down that road where they have to look for, you know, copyright-free music.
Yeah,
which they have to pay any money for.
I mean, it sounds like some sort of sexy beach bar music. Not really the kind of music I put on a video about
nuclear power. No.
It just seems very odd.
5, 4. I mean, it is just bizarre. And here he's talking about reform, because he's a bit obsessed with them.
But yes, are we up against fake solutions, and they are fake solutions from reform that that won't work, haven't been costed, can't be implemented, the easy answers that will deliver nothing. Yes, we are up against that, and that's why it's very important for me and for you and everybody else to hold what reforms say up to the light, because they are fake solutions, and they're fake. To peddle fake solutions to a worried public is about.
Does it sound weird to you that his voice has dropped a slight sort of note? It sounds like his voice is a little bit deeper there. Do you notice that?
Maybe. What, do you think that's because he's a bit nervous?
Yeah, I think he's really... Well, people were saying
clearly Reform live in his head rent-free.
Yeah.
I mean, the more he talks about them, the clearer it is that he's terrified of them.
Oh, yeah. But the people were saying yesterday that were watching this interview, saying that he's clearly quite angry. And he's obviously one of these guys, a bit like Gordon Brown. He used to throw phones and stuff like that. He doesn't look like a guy that can control his anger very well. He looks like a guy that would just like go off the.
Yeah, he doesn't really shout much, but you can kind of see in his face that he's got this anger bubbling up,
and
that he's not relaxed. He's always very on edge. It seems to me.
Also, his description there. Should we play it again? Let's play it again, because his description of what Reform's policies are like could be actually describing his own.
But yes, are we up against fake solutions, and they are fake solutions from Reform that that won't work, haven't been costed, can't be implemented, the easy answers that will deliver nothing. Yes, we are up against that, and that's why it's very important for me and for you and everybody else to hold what Reform say up to the light, because they are fake solutions, and they're fake. To peddle fake solutions to a worried public is about as unpatriotic as you can get.
It's almost as though he's changed his voice because he's trying to be more serious or something. I don't know. But, I mean, certainly fake solutions for, you know, solutions which won't work. A bit like the one in, one out policy, it sounds to me, you know.
I mean, look at any policy area. I mean, their one in, one out policy, well, they can't even get one person over on a flight. That was clearly a fake solution to the small boats crisis, even if they did manage to swap 50 people over a week. The solution to our huge energy bills was, oh, we'll get Ed Miliband to build a load of wind turbines, and don't worry, all your bills will come down by 300 quid. They've got up by 300 quid. That was a fake solution. The solution to our black hole was apparently to do a budget that raised taxes by 40 billion quid. That hasn't worked out well. That was a fake solution. We had Rachel Reeves thinking she could solve the country's problems by just doing a big tax on the rich. How's that worked out? They've all fled to Dubai. That was a fake solution. I could go on all day with the number of fake solutions they've given us. So who are they to sit there and say that about the Reform Party?
This is why they'll never get anywhere criticising Reform for not being ready for government, because they weren't ready for government.
No, clearly.
And they're 14 months in, they're still not ready for government, and it's all going horribly wrong. The wheels are falling off, and they've got nothing to actually say that's in any way positive.
I know. I mean, what I was hearing sort of, you know, May, June sort of time is that everyone in Number 10 was thinking, we've just got to get to the summer recess. It's all going wrong, but we just get to the summer recess, and then we can all have a break, we can reset over summer, and then we'll come in all guns blazing for phase 2 in the autumn. Phase 2 has not got off to a good start, has it?
Phase 2 is dead in the water, I think, is what you might say.
Yeah, let's
Meanwhile,
just skip that and go to phase 3, whatever that is.
Kruger became the first sitting MP to defect to Reform UK, Conservative Party, of course, from Wiltshire. I didn't realise he was the son of Bake Off judge Prue Leith. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. So, yeah, he's been given the role of preparing Mr Farage's route to Number 10 because he's been in senior roles in government before, so he's thought that now be one of the things that Nigel Farage has said is that what they need more of is people who have actually been in government and who understand the wheels of government and understand how to get around the civil service and understand how to just get the day-to-day stuff done. So it's a big signing, and I think everybody could see yesterday that this means that Nigel Farage means business. I know there are some in Reform who say we don't just want all these washed-up Tories joining us, you know. But he's not what you would consider a washed-up Tory, and it means they've now got an extra MP, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're now back to 5 MPs,
back to 5.
Where they started after they tragically lost
5 go mad in Westminster.
Yes, I think that this is really significant, this defection, because this is not just any Tory MP. This is the guy who was managing Robert Jenrick's leadership campaign, and he stuck with the Tories for a year after that disastrous general election last year, trying to do his best to revive them. Clearly thought Jenrick maybe gave the party some hope, and the fact that he has now jumped ship, ditched Jenrick, who was probably thinking, I'll have Danny Kruger by my side if I get another chance at a leadership election. Danny has now, after thinking very carefully about it, realised that the only way to defeat socialism is with Reform. They are the vehicle to do that. He recognised someone as big as him. I think, you know, Nadine Dorries was a big, well-known name to switch over, and everyone spoke about that a lot. But I don't think that was significant
not MP
because
anymore, is she?
Yeah, but I think everyone's always seen her as a bit of a rebel, so it wasn't really that big of a surprise. Whereas this is a guy who hasn't been a super rebellious MP.
No.
He's been you know, he's been a long-standing Tory his whole life, very thoughtful, intelligent guy, and not someone to just throw his toys out the pram and rebel and switch to another party on a whim. So I think this is really, really telling that the Tory party is finished. And now that someone
that's what he said.
And now that someone as big and well-respected as him has moved across, a lot of other Tory MPs are thinking, maybe he's right. Maybe the only way to defeat Labour is if we switch over to Reform.
And maybe the only only way to save your seat as well. It's
exactly,
so
and reform do need to be careful not to take anybody and everybody, but I do think this particular one is a good move.
Well, let's have a look at what he said yesterday.
The Conservative Party is over. Over as a national party. Over as the principal opposition to the left. But I am not despondent, because conservatism is not over. It's never been needed more, and actually it's never been more vibrant. Because the failure of the Conservative Party has created space for an alternative.
And there we are. This from Chris in Northumberland. Wow, Red Ed is the only one guy who was more dull to listen to than Robert Peston. What a duo. Darren in Plymouth says, great show, mate. I don't need to be up until 7, but this last few weeks I've been getting up at 6. One thing I'd like to know, this batch of migrants that were prevented from being sent back to France, do we end up getting the ones that France earmarks as the returnees regardless? Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see what farcical fun unfolds today. Well, presumably not. Surely we won't. We surely won't be so bad at negotiating that we've gone, well, we'll take these guys coming in from France anyway, even though we haven't sent you any.
I wouldn't put it past Starmer. He's a terrible negotiator,
really
and that will be absolutely hilarious if we end up with 50 migrants a week coming our way from France, but we're not sending anybody back because the lefty lawyers stop them from going. I mean, that would be absolutely surprising. Comical. We've then got the numbers coming into this country going up and up and up.
Yeah, absolutely right. Coming up, we'll tell you more about Ed Miliband and his council tax bill that he keeps handing over to us to pay for him on his behalf. 6:40. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 6:42. I'm here with Chloe Dobbs, and we got a voice note from Boz on One In, None Out.
Morning, Mike and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. Did anyone actually think that that person was going to be leaving yesterday, or any persons? That was only going to France. Remember the problems with Rwanda? Every time they put 3 or 4 people on, they were taken off because there was a challenge. It's a joke. One flight for one person. Just get a whole load of them, all in together, send them over.
I mean, it's mad, isn't it? Of course, the way they plan to do it, they say it's cheaper to put them on an Air France plane. Well, it's probably not cheaper if you try and put them on an Air France plane, then it doesn't work, and then you have to take them off the plane again, and then put them somewhere else for a while, and then try and put them on another plane the next day. I mean, that's not going to be cheaper than just putting them on a ferry, is it?
I mean, how dumb?
Why can't I just put them on a ferry?
I know. How dumb do the Home Office have to be? Of course, putting them on a commercial flight was going to be a stupid idea, and then you're going to have other passengers who are, normal.
Well, who wants to sit next to an illegal migrant who's being guarded by somebody?
This is the thing: is people are probably someone's going to get their phone out, they'll take a video, take a picture, they'll send it to the press, and then all you need is one person to say, "Oh, he sat next to me on the plane and he touched my leg" or something like that, and then it's a whole big story. I mean, why didn't they just get either put them on a ferry or a private flight where? I mean, I guess there's no point in having a private flight if you've only got one person to put on it. But they should have hundreds of people by now. I mean, they started detaining people over a month ago. They should now have at least 200 people.
But here's the other thing: we don't know why they've detained people. We don't know what the circumstances are under which they've been detained. So, because like I said, over 5,000 people have come in, and they've only detained 100 of them. Well, why have they only detained 100 of them? Surely they should have detained all 5,000 of them.
I know. I mean, there are so many people coming in. Is it really that hard to pick out 50 people a week?
Well, they haven't got room, have they? But they shouldn't be picking out 50 people a week. They should be picking out all of them.
I know.
Because they're all coming illegally.
I know. Well, I mean, the way that what they call the deal, one in, one out, is very deceiving as it is.
Disingenuous. It doesn't mean that.
I know. It doesn't mean. They make it sound as though every person that comes over here is going to be swapped with somebody else, but it's not. It's only 50 out of the thousands and thousands that come.
Which is why it's a pointless activity.
Yeah.
I have to at this point, with regard to not being too much of blowing my own trumpet, I've got a piece in the Sun today. Labour said they will do whatever it takes. Well, with a backlog of 120,000 migrants, it will take a lot more than one in, one out. Because it's never going to work, is it? Never going to work.
It's never going to work. It is a tiny, tiny policy. It is a tiny deterrent. There is a little chance that it may do something, but that something is going to be nowhere near enough to satisfy the British public, who feel like this is an emergency.
Yeah.
It needs urgent, decisive
action. Exactly
and
right.
that is just, we're just not seeing it at
No.
all. They think that they can just twiddle their thumbs and take it all slowly. I mean, it was very
it's
clear
like they
to
think
me.
it's just going to stop happening, and it's not. But let's move on to
I
Ed
know.
Miliband.
They think if they talk the talk, that the smugglers and the migrants will hear that and go, oh, we better not come across to Britain. They're thinking about maybe sending a few people back to France. No.
Yeah, because also the other thing
enough.
is, I'm just going to want to get off this in a minute, but when they do get sent back, there's nothing to stop them coming back again.
Well,
they just come back illegally.
Apparently, if they've been sent back, then if they ever try to come again, their asylum claim will automatically be rejected. That's why they claim
but what if they come back and they come back looking like somebody else, or they come back having changed their ID? I mean, you know, most of these people, we don't know who they are.
I mean, I don't know if we take the fingerprints when they come in.
I very much doubt it. They might do, but they don't think they fingerprint everyone. Anyway, let's talk about Ed Miliband, who's been accused of hypocrisy once again. He appears to have passed on to the taxpayer higher council tax bills for their second homes, because a lot of people now, thanks to the Labour government, have got council tax bills going up, because if you've got a second home, you have to pay more, right? This is one of the new policies that Angela Rayner put through. Analysis of MPs' expenses released last week showed that several Labour ministers, including Ed Miliband, Hilary Benn and Torsten Bell, who's meant to be the new great sort of thinker in the Treasury, as well as ministers in past governments as well, have more than doubled what they claimed compared with last year. People will be driven mad by this. So Miliband claims for his house in Doncaster, right, £3,285.90 in March to cover a council tax bill from there, up 108% from the amount he claimed in March of last year. Miliband's been MP for Doncaster North since 2005. Hilary Benn, the Northern Ireland Secretary and MP for Leeds Central, made 10 expenses claims for council tax of just around about £2,000. His tax went up 110%. And Torsten Bell in Swansea made the largest claim by any MP, £6,119.48. Bell's claim increased from £2,510. So the government are putting these prices up, but then the government ministers are not paying when the price goes up, they're just charging us. Marvellous, isn't it?
One rule for them and another for us, isn't it? I mean, yeah, presumably the reason why Ed Miliband's bill has gone up 108% is because of their crackdown on evil second homeowners.
Yes.
And they've got to pay double the council tax.
But he's passing it on to us.
Exactly.
Well, that's not odd, is it?
Quite rightly, people who do have second homes are absolutely furious about the fact that they've got to pay double the amount in council tax.
Yeah.
And it would be okay for the government to do that if they say, you know what, we'll go through the hardship that you guys are going through as well. But no, they're not willing to go through any of the hardship that they place on people.
Well, we
it's
also,
an
because we
absolute
found
joke,
out
and it just
last
shows
week
that they're completely out of touch.
Well,
with
we
the
found out
general
last
public.
week that Ed Miliband not only charges council tax to us, but he charges us his electricity bill and his gas bill for his second home as well, where he doesn't, by the way, have a heat pump. He's got a gas boiler, which he wants us to get rid of.
Not living the net zero lifestyle, is it? Again, it's one rule for them and another for us. And look, I don't have a problem with MPs expensing things that they are allowed to expense if they are if they are an MP that doesn't have any other income. They haven't come from, they haven't got a big bank full of savings because they've worked some big job in finance before or something and saved up all their money and now a millionaire. But Ed Miliband's got plenty of money to splash around. So
also, why should we pay his council tax? We have to pay our own council tax. If he's got a second home, lucky old him. He can claim for all the expenses he likes in London, because that's not where his whether that's where his main residence is or not. He's got a constituency house, but he have to pay the tax on it. Why should we pay it?
Exactly. Even if you just take the MP salary alone before you even think about all the freebies they get and everything they get to expense, it should be enough for you to pay for somewhere to live and pay for your council tax. But it seems for MPs that they just don't want to pay it. I mean, if I were an MP, and I knew that my wage was paid for by the taxpayer, I would be principled and I would know, the taxpayer is paying my wage. I need to be very careful not to waste taxpayers. Even if you're thinking, oh, it's only a few thousand out of the billions and trillions that comes in government
but that's
money.
Not their decision. That
if you're using somebody else's money, you should be careful with it. If I've just got my own money that I've made myself privately and I want to splash a cash on a big fancy meal out, then fine, that's my money. But if I'm using somebody else's money, I would feel conscious not to completely waste it.
Well,
but
I'm sure that if you wanted to go and look at Ed Miliband's expenses, you'll find an awful lot of things in there that he shouldn't be claiming, but which he's claiming because somehow he's allowed to do so. Meanwhile, health tourism is costing the NHS £250 million in 3 years alone. £252 million is apparently the charges that have been put into various trusts in this country, different surgeries, different A&Es and all the rest of it, all people who have come here from foreign lands who haven't paid for it.
Yet another slap in the face to the taxpayer.
Yep.
Both from Ed Miliband and people coming here on health tourism. Why on earth can you come to this country and get an operation done and not have to pay for it?
Yeah.
I mean, surely they should make you pay before you get on a flight to leave. I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Either that or they're supposed to recover it from the foreign country from which that person came, you know, because there are supposedly deals in place. But, of course, nobody bothers to do that, so they don't collect the money.
I mean, it's just an absolute joke. And what I presume the NHS have thought is, oh, it's 252 million out of the billions and billions of our budget.
That's the problem.
But just on principle, this is an absolute slap in the face to the taxpayer because, I mean, they're, you know, in the story on this, it's saying that could build 68 GP surgeries.
Yeah.
I'm sure people who are absolutely
3,200 doctors.
I'm sure people who are absolutely desperate for a GP appointment would say, actually, although 252 million is a small part of their huge budget, we desperately could do with anything we can possibly get so that people can actually get a GP appointment. And it's once again a case of Brits feeling like they're at the back of the queue.
Yes.
You can come here from another country.
And also the problem with the NHS is that there's too many people saying, oh, that's just 200 million. You know, but 200 million
But it all adds up.
And that's why they have such a waste of money.
And I think that goes for all of the government's operations. I mean, I'm very excited to see what happens if and when reform come in and they have their Doge unit to go through every department. I mean, you see it with so many things, with government contracts where they haven't even had multiple people bid on the contract and they're just handing someone way more money than they need to, but they might think, oh, it's just one contract, we can splash a load of cash on this, it doesn't matter. But then all of this adds up. They've got more staff everywhere than they need to have.
It's ridiculous.
And then we end up with this really bloated state that we've got where about 45% or 44% of GDP is
absolutely ridiculous.
Government.
Rupert from Sussex says, Mike, the only one in, one out appears to be Starmer's team. Who will be next to this feeble administration? We do make you wonder. Morning, Mike and Chloe. So if Two-Tier knew then what he knows now, would he still be Prime Minister? Honestly, Mike, the guy's a cartoon, says Peter in Croydon. Let's get a voice note from Lee.
Morning, Mike. Lee from Chelmsford. The one in, one out policy's got off to a great start. It seems like the only people that think it's a good idea is Two-Tier and his cabinet of chaos. They're chartering flights and trying to stick one bloke on, and they can't even get that right. And what makes it even worse is apparently the French are sending a flight back on Saturday full of illegals. So not only have we got them on boats, but we've also getting them on flights as well. It's unbelievable, Mike.
It really is. And Chloe asked that question. We'll try and get an answer for you during the course of the show, whether the French are going to send these people anyway, even if we haven't sent them anyone. But we've got one more break to take. It's complete chaos, isn't it? The cabinet of chaos. I like that. Back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:56. Goodness me, we're nearly at the end of the first hour. Chloe Dobbs is here with us. John in Devon says, how are all the illegals getting on a plane if they've thrown their passports away? Love the show, love talk. Well, that's a good question. The other question that's just put to me by Christian is, how is it that these lawyers are stopping people going to France? You know, it's like me saying to you, fancy going to Paris? And you go, no, I'm afraid can't do that.
That might breach my human rights.
Human rights lawyers going to stop me going. It's bad, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it is bonkers. It is, again, it's the ECHR, Article 8, right to a family life. So they're saying, oh, I've got a family member in the UK. It would be really traumatising for me to be sent to France where there is a sea of water between us. And I mean, it's just beyond belief. And we need to start ignoring the ECHR, like other countries do. This isn't some like really out there rebellious thing to do. Other countries do it.
Yeah, I know.
France
Let's talk about the front page of the Express, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Millions of households faced a nightmare Christmas food price hikes amid warnings Labour could clobber businesses at the budget. This is more bad news from Rachel Reeves' department. Her November the 26th budget, just before Christmas. Prices are going to go up.
Yeah, and food inflation is the worst when it comes to inflation. And we had Keir Starmer, when he was trying to distract from the looming tax rises in the budget, he put out one of his videos saying, the budget is going to be all about living standards. And everyone thought, hang on, the people who are on low wages, the thing that really affects them the most is food inflation, and that's going up and up and up. And you've had the supermarkets coming out, like Tesco, blaming Rachel Reeves for the inflation, because they say, look, we've got loads of people on minimum wage that work in our stores, we've got huge national insurance hikes to deal with as well. We have no choice but to pass some of that on to consumers. So we're not putting prices up just to get a load of extra profit for us. We simply have no choice. The other thing is also the shoplifting epidemic. We've had the guy in charge of Iceland come out and say it's losing them about 20 million quid a year, the shoplifting, and he says that really does actually affect prices.
Of course it does.
So they've had to come up with a scheme now at Iceland where they'll give you an extra £1 back on your card if you catch a shoplifter, because they can't trust the police to catch them.
Unbelievable. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it, what's going on? One final one, we've got about 30 seconds left. Our substandard submarines. There's a picture in the Mail today of one of our submarines that literally looks like an old piece of junk. You know, it doesn't even look like it's made of metal. It's sort of covered in algae. Looks past its best after spending extra time at sea.
It's not a good photo, is it? It does make me worry that if we did have to go to war,
it's
that
like
we
when
would
people would make fun of the old Russian Navy and say, that it's all crap. You know, well, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. I don't think we'll be in a good place if we actually need to go to war.
But we're on a war footing, though, because Keir Starmer said we were, didn't he, some weeks ago. Brilliant. Chloe, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.